Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. This is a seven-way, although we're not doing the seven-way today. I have filmed the next section of the seven-way, but here on the monthly vlog today, we're back near to the town of Bewdley, which lies in Worcestershire. And just behind the camera is, yes, the River Severn. That behind me here is Blackstone rock, and it forms part of a geological feature which runs from Bridgnorth up there in Shropshire all the way down to Gloucester in Gloucestershire, and the Geopark Way runs alongside all of it, some 107 miles. That's not what I'm doing today though. I'm going to go over the other side of the River Severn into a little hamlet called Ribbesford, which I've not covered before. Have a look at the amazing church there and see if we can see a bit of the huge house as well. Hope you can join me again for the monthly vlog here on West Country Wanderings. So this is Blackstone Riverside Park. I think it's, well, I don't know how many hectares it is. It's a sizable chunk. On the OS map it actually says there was a car park here, or there is a car park, but I can't find that. So I parked on the other side of the River Severn. As I say, there's a Worcestershire County Council car park there, which is free. Has picnic tables as well, but no toilets. So just be warned of that. So you might need to go into the town itself. You need to use facilities. So about half a mile south of Bewdley, and I'm actually going to be coming back to Bewdley this evening because there is a firework display, so I'm not sure if that's coming off or not. So if it does, there'll be a separate video showing you the firework display. And the reason for the firework display is because Bewdley has its wonderful carnival tomorrow, which I won't be able to film because I'll be travelling back home, and then I didn't want to travel up again tomorrow. But hopefully I can capture the fireworks, as I say, as a separate thing. It'd be nice to see that over at good old Sabrina. So have this wonderful space over here. Now this originally was part of Ribbesford estate, and there is a house which is still there. It has an interesting history which I'm looking forward to telling you all about in a minute. And in the vlog today I'll also give you a review of what's been happening in June, and also reading out the very best of your comments and looking forward what's going to be happening in July. Those rocks which I just showed you, the Blackstone rocks, I don't know why they're called Blackstone rocks. Is that because they are of a black stone, even though they are red sandstone, and they do have caves in them? I managed to get a couple of shots of that, and I'll just show you that again, what the aspect looks like from this side of the River Severn. So you have this wonderful seat here which looks across to the Blackstone rocks there in the cave, and it's actually dedicated to a gentleman called Peter Harper, 1939 to 2020, and he loved this spot because he liked to sit here and paint there. I think this seat replaced an earlier one which was probably a little worn, and this is replacing his own a couple of years ago. So Peter Harper, yes, and it's a fantastic view right across to the rocks there on the other side of good old Sabrina. We're going to continue our walk now round to the church of Ribbesford. So I've come round now to Ribbesford churchyard and its amazing church, more about which in a bit, and I'll insert some photographs of what I took inside the church because it was open just now. That behind me there is Ribbesford House, and I'll explain to you a little bit about that amazing building's history as well, because this was part, of course, of the Ribbesford estate. And although we are close to Bewdley town centre here, it's far enough away to be nice and peaceful and quiet as well. So it's a really, really nice spot, and walking along the river to arrive here is a tremendous place. And there is an estate further on. The first video was actually landed at the beginning of the month, but it was filmed in the previous month in May, and that was at Linton and Barnstaple Railway. My second visit there, it was a very, very short video, short bite video of my railway series, and I filmed it actually literally driving to where I was going to on holiday in North Devon. I thought I'd just stop off and go there and have a look at that. I had a great comment on that little video from Malcolm Richardson, who summed up the scene precisely and neatly. It all looks immaculate, like a film set. Not a piece of ballast is out of place. Hopefully they'll have a good season to build up the reserves to extend the line. Thank you very much for that, Malcolm. That's a great comment. And indeed, there is a website, I think it's called Rail Advent, and they are looking to put in rail planning permission through the local council to do that very, very thing. Now at the bottom of the churchyard here, there's an allotment area. Not sure if it's private to one of the cottages that are around here, the rectory maybe, or it's open to the parishioners. Either way, it's well maintained and a rather lovely feature. I had a great comment from last month's vlog, which was over in the county of Herefordshire, not a million miles away from where we are here in Worcestershire at the moment. And that was from the village of Shobden. We had a look at the airfield there as well. I had a great comment on that from Louise from Southwest Sundays, and she writes, "The greenness is so pleasing. I looked up a word to describe it and I came across the word verdure, which I had not heard of before." Well, I hadn't actually heard of that either, Louise, so thank you very much for that great comment. And it was rather green there, as it is here today in neighbouring Worcestershire as well. Now, the church here at Ribbesford is dedicated to the Saint Lawrence, of which I don't know a great deal, but I should do. But I'll put in a couple of facts about St Lawrence now. What I do know, however, is that the church here was built in 1150, although there are some changes to it, including something dramatic that happened here in the 19th century. What is incredible and striking as you enter the church, apart from a magnificent porch with an engraving on it dating back to the 1600s, is the fantastic Norman tympanum, wonderful piece of arched stone masonry there dating from the original church. The north wall of the church is the original as well from 1150, but much later additions to it. As you enter the church as well, what is striking is on one side of the aisle you have the stone pillars, stone columns there, and on the other side you have wooden ones. I've not seen that in the church before. You normally have either one or the other. It also has a wooden turret as well and a really interesting pulpit. Some beautiful stained glass. The King Edward VII is featured in one of the pieces of stained glass, and the reason for that is he started the borough of Bewdley around about 1450. A lot of the stained glass in the church here was done by one William Morris, who for a short time lived in Broadway Tower in the Cotswolds near another Worcestershire place, Broadway Village, which we have been to before. But yes, William Morris's handiwork is in the church here at Ribbesford. I need to wait for the cockerel to stop crowing at the moment. Earlier this month in the city of Gloucester, just a little further to the south, but also on the River Severn of course, they had a festival, which they had done previously, but this was the first one that they'd done since the pandemic. And I'm talking about, of course, the Tall Ships Festival. Now, I struggle with things that are really, really busy. If the crowds are very intense, I do struggle with that. I had planned to actually go along on the day of the event itself, buying a ticket for it. But, I nearly said turkey then, that's thinking about that cockerel, isn't it? But the night before, there was glorious light. It was a beautiful evening. So I thought, well, why don't I go over there in the evening and grab some shots? And I decided to make that the video about my tall ship. So it was a little bit different. There was no face-to-face camera for me. So it was mainly just video clips and photography with some voiceover telling you about the ships themselves. Seemed to go down really, really well, as did the event. I think the event the following day was extremely popular with lots and lots of things going on, and I do think they sold out as well. Anita from the channel I'm a Dutch Kiwi wrote a great comment on that video. Such a great video, getting all these tall ships together. Thank you, Anita, and I need to check out some of your comments as well, because I'm a little bit behind. You seem to be doing some brilliant videos lately, and I haven't had the time to sit down and watch them with filming and editing and all the other things you need to do in life, as you're probably aware. But yeah, thanks very much for that, and you've got a great channel there, and I'll put a link to Anita's YouTube channel in the description of today's video. On the 13th of June 1877, something rather dramatic happened at the church here at Ribbesford, and that was that it was struck by lightning. It caused a lot of damage to the interior of the church and to the tower as well. Had to be rebuilt in subsequent years. Most of the masonry remained intact, but yes, it still did a significant damage to the church, but thankfully it was saved. This beautiful shrubbery and roses is just on the outside of the south wall of the church here. It looks rather striking and very, very colourful. It wasn't to a colourful place I went next, but it was in my Cornwall series, on Bodmin Moor. In fact, it was another one I made while I was having that break in North Devon. I'd actually gone south from there to near Callington to spend some time with my daughter who lives in Liscard. Anyway, we both headed up onto Bodmin Moor and made a little video about a curious dolmen called Trevi Coit. Now, a dolmen is where stones, large stone slabs pieces, in this case granite, have been moved by man into a certain configuration for reasons we don't fully understand in most cases, and that's the case with the one at Trevi Coit in Cornwall. Was it to do with astronomy? Was it for religion? Was it to bury the dead? Well, we don't really know, we can only guess. There is an odd hole in the uppermost slab, and was that used for looking at stars? Well, again, we don't know. One of the inner slabs has actually fallen down inwards, well, some time ago, but you can see where it actually fell. So the original arrangement would have been quite different. It would have been filled up with a mound of soil on the bank of it there. I had a great comment on that video from Diana Rolfe. Thank you very much for your comments, Diana. I enjoy reading them, they're really great. She writes, "It's a mysterious puzzle. I saw a TV programme whereby to show it was possible to transport huge blocks along the River Nile by manpower alone. It was okay until the end. They had to use a crane system to move the blocks. The balancing of that stone at Trevi Coit reminds me of the stone balancing that you see on the beaches, especially around Charmouth in Dorset. You just cannot believe that objects like that can exist." Thanks very much, Donna, for a great comment. Now, the churchyard here that surrounds St Lawrence Church here at Ribbesford is actually quite large and old, as you would expect with the age of the church, but it's good to see that it also provides a habitat for nature as well. The other curious thing about this church is that there's a connection to this parish and the River Severn. Well, you won't be surprised about the connection to the River Severn, but another part of the River Severn. Recently, I walked the section of the Severn Way, number 24, which goes from Sharpness Docks to Albury-on-Severn, so quite a little bit of distance from where I am. Shortly, I've only got 2 more legs to go, so the penultimate will be the next one. As I was walking to Albury-on-Severn, I passed a place called either Shepherdine or Shepherdine. In fact, I've made a video there previously. And there's a connection to Shepherdine Estate and this parish here. But I don't really know why. I'll just read it to you. In 1661, one Richard Vicaris conveyed to the trustees a farmhouse at Shepherdine near Thornbury in Gloucestershire. In return for £5 to a grammar school and £3 for poor women in labour. That's really odd. I don't know why he did that and what the connection was to a farmhouse at Shepherdine Estate, what is now South Gloucestershire, and to this part of North Worcestershire. Does anybody have any light on that whatsoever? Now, the main piece of stained glass by William Morris in the church here is in the west wing, and it was from design by Edward Burne-Jones, both 2 strong pre-Raphaelite artists, and it's dedicated to his mother-in-law, Hannah MacDonald. Now, Hannah MacDonald was an interesting character in herself, mainly because she was the grandmother of both Stanley Baldwin, who was born here in Bewdley, and also Rudyard Kipling, the writer and poet. The lane entrance off the minor road to Ribbesford Church goes along this beautiful avenue of sycamore trees. It's really quite impressive. So I've actually walked up from the car park, as you know, but there is a small car park just outside the church if you prefer to drive to the church itself and have a look at that magnificent window and the church, because it is really spectacular. Now, I always enjoy doing collabs, that's collaborations with other YouTubers in the same video, and I did one this month as well. I popped down to Devon on the train, changing at Exeter St David's, and heading down to Exeter's Port, Topsham, where I met up with Louise from Southwest Sundays. It was a very enjoyable day. I had a great comment on that video because we had a look inside Topsham's excellent and free museum. If you ever visit Topsham, you really need to have a look at Topsham's museum. The comment was from Kathy. Hi Kathy, thanks very much for a great comment. What an interesting museum. I didn't expect to see Scarlett O'Hara's night dress in there. Yes, it is. And the reason for that is that the brother of the lady that lived in that house that is now the museum married the actress that played Scarlett O'Hara in the film, the famous film. And the name of that film has just gone completely out of my head. Rab Butler, that was the other character in the film. Anyway, there aren't many artefacts and pieces of costume left of that film, but there is one certainly there in Topsham Museum. Thanks very much for that, Kathy, and thank you to Louise for joining me on the day, very enjoyable day there in Topsham. You may remember at the beginning of the video that I mentioned the Geo Parkway. That's the one that goes from Bridgnorth down to Gloucester. Well, outside the church there is the Worcestershire Way, and it just reminded me to mention to you that the Geo Parkway crisscrosses over the Worcestershire Way, the Herefordshire Way, the Gloucestershire Way, the Severn Way, the Glevon Way, amongst many others. The Wyses Way is another one which we've come across before. And I think my next project after I finish the Seven Ways, I filmed one recently, but need to edit that one, 2 more to actually walk, will be that walk, the Geo Parkway from Bridgnorth down to Gloucester, because it covers lots of geological features. It also crisscrosses over lots of interesting hills, not least of which the Suckley Hills, the Aberley Hills, the Malvern Hills, and just outside Gloucester, between Gloucester and Newent, May Hill. And that's a hill that I often see walking up in the area I live just outside of Stroud, but I've never yet walked up. So I thought it all fits in quite nicely to do that one next. You're now looking at Ribbesford House, or Ribbesford Mansion, which dates back over 1,000 years. The current house, though, itself dates from the 16th century, with later additions running up to the 19th century. It has 20 bedrooms, 10 reception rooms, and Francis Ingram purchased it in 1787. Now, he was a Yorkshireman, and unfortunately, he was also a slave trader. It's currently on the at-risk register. Visitors to the house there included the former Prime Minister Stanley Bolden, who we've mentioned previously, who was born in Dudley, and Rudyard Kipling. Here, the Free French soldiers were trained during World War II. In 1947, it was purchased by the RAF Wing Commander Alfred Howell, who converted it into luxury apartments. In 2018, it was sold by Howell's daughter for £810,000 to Samuel Leeds Limited. Now, they started work on it around 2019 to 2020. Some of it stopped, obviously, because of the pandemic. Work restarted in 2021, then ceasing, and it's just started again this year, doing lots of attention on its roof. It was to a railway series that I did next. Lost Railway Walks number 14, section between Holsbury in North Devon and the North Cornwall town of Bude, although I didn't walk all the way to Bude. Looked at a couple of viaducts, in particular Derriton Viaduct just outside the town of Holsbury, which is a magnificent viaduct. It really is quite a spectacular location. Had a great comment on that video from Daryl, who lives in the United States of America. Always great to hear your comments, Daryl. Daryl writes, "To me, a viaduct is a beautiful piece of architecture. Silhouetted against the background, they are a picture waiting to be painted." Yes, I couldn't agree with you more, Daryl. I have a question to ask you now about the channel generally. Now, you may have noticed over the past few videos, you watched probably my past 5 or 6 videos that I've put up this month, I've started doing something new. The channel started being monetized, I think it was a few months ago now. And before it's monetized, you don't have any option over control of the adverts. YouTube puts them in there whether you get any payment from YouTube or not in terms of the advertising. So they put in loads. And I'm not happy with 2 things really about that. One is the sheer number of advert breaks that are in the videos. I think it's far too many. And the second thing is they can just appear. So you could be in mid-sentence and it goes over to an ad, just like that. It's very annoying. So what I've started to do is put in ad breaks when I'm editing. So I'm phasing it in where it'll say end of part 1, part 2, etc. and I'm then timing them in by adjusting them through YouTube's own software. You can actually do that once you become monetized. And I'm trying to limit to no more than 2 ad breaks per 30 minutes of viewing time. So if it's 45 minutes, it'll be 3 ad breaks, etc., plus an ad break at the start, 1 at the end. If you let it run with YouTube, it'll probably, for a 30-minute video, it'll probably try and put in about 5 or 6 ad breaks, which I think is ridiculous. I just need your feedback with that. Is that working for you? Because I can't see how it works for when you're watching it on the device that you're watching it, whether it's TV, tablet, phone, laptop, computer, whatever it is. And everybody's experience with ads on YouTube is always slightly different. So if that is helpful to you to reduce the ads, and hopefully it has reduced the number of ads, and also phasing it in, so it's going from end of part 1, part 2, so you can get a feel that there's an ad break coming up, so you can lower the volume. I always find the adverts, the volume is too loud. I always dip the advert down and press mute. If you find that helpful, please let me know. Or if you don't find it helpful, please let me know. Please drop a comment. It's Myths Monthly's vlog. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Now, many of you already know that before I returned to my birth county of Gloucestershire in 2021, I lived and worked in both Devon and Cornwall, latterly in the town of Brixham in South Devon. And I got in contact with a couple of people. I've kept in contact with quite a few of them actually, but 2 in particular. We met up there in Brixham, or Paynton should I say, for a meal. I caught the train down there. On the way down there, before we had our meal at lunchtime, decided to do a video walking from the railway station at Paynton right round to Saltown Cove, which I've not been to before, which also has amazing geology, just like where we are here today by the River Severn in North Part of Worcestershire. Had a great comment on that video as well, and that comes from Martin Pope, fellow YouTuber. Hi Martin, always great to hear your comments. We've only walked to Goodrington from Paynton before, so it was nice to see the clip tops and little coves. We've been to the harbour in Paynton many times, but we didn't know about the cove behind it. Yes, that's called Fairy Cove. I didn't know about it either. When I was planning the route, literally on the train down there to Paynton, I thought, where can I do a walk? Looking at the OS map on my phone on the train journey, I saw it and I thought, I wonder what that's going to be like. Yeah, it's really good. So if you go to Paynton Harbour, it's literally around the back of the harbour, actually literally walk to the sea. There is a no-through road that runs along the edge of the harbour there, and then there's some small steps that take you right down into the cove. Well worth a look. And thanks very much, Martin, and I'll include a link to your YouTube channel in the description of today's vlog. Now, rather than going through what's coming up in July right at the very end of this monthly vlog, I just thought I'd throw it out there now, what's coming up. Well, I've got a really interesting video. I think you're going to find it interesting, particularly if you like my railway series. I went over to Herefordshire recently to have a look at the world's oldest private miniature railway. Yes, you heard that right. It actually celebrates its centenary next year. So it was set up in 1925. There is another amazing fact about it, which I won't ruin, but I'll let you watch the video. Well, 2 amazing facts is one, where that railway is. It's not in a park, recreation ground, or even someone's private garden. It's really amazing. And also the people that look after it. Yes. You may be able to guess that. I'll leave that with you. So that's coming up in the month of July. Also, 7-Way 24 and perhaps 25 as well. So if 24 is in the can, I just got to edit it. That will be going up this coming week. So hopefully this will be arriving Sunday, the last day of the month of June. And in a couple of days after that, then the 7-Way 24 should be launching. I hope to film 25 in July as well. And that'll just be one more leg to get us from Severn Beach into the city of Bristol to complete the 7-Way. I also want to return to the Dramway in South Gloucester. If you remember a little while ago, I think it was about a couple of months ago now, I did the Dramway from Bitton in South Gloucestershire right round to where it meets the River Avon, and found some amazing old buildings part of that. But there's a lot more to see on that Dramway, and I hope to do that in July. And also not far away from there to do a Lost Rail walk right in the city of Bristol. Yes, the Bristol Harbour Railway. And I hope to visit Shed when I'm there as well. So it'll be my second foray into the city of Bristol here on West Country Wanderings. I'm looking at doing another coastal walk, perhaps a return to Dorset. Probably catch the train down there and do something along the coast of Dorset this time, because we've done Devon and Cornwall a bit fairly recently. So I'll have a look. Return to Dorset. If I can, I would like to get back to Portland, the island of Portland. It's not a proper island, but you know what I mean. It's I've forgotten the technical term for it, because it's isthmus of land, isn't it, that connects it to the mainland. Hopefully we'll get to there. And finally, there'll be another video on either the Malverns or the Cotswolds in one of my walking series of those as well. So yeah, quite a few things coming out. Other things which I have got in the back of my mind but aren't fully planned out yet, which will hopefully happen in July as well. Thanks very much. I had a brace of Canal series towards the end of June as well. The first of which was a return to the Somerset Coal Canal. I've watched a couple of other YouTubers do the Coombe Hay flight. Now with the Coombe Hay flight, before there were locks, before there was a tramway and inclined plane there was something else. And it was the mysterious Kyson, sometimes pronounced Kayson. No one doesn't really know, because there is no oral evidence of this, not least of which there's no photography evidence either. So it's quite a tricky video to make, to try and explain exactly how that worked, because we don't know fully. We got a couple of descriptions, so that's all I had to go on. But it's an amazing place, a beautiful place, just a couple of miles to the south of the city of Bath, in the village of Coombe Hay, which actually I'm surprised to learn is actually in the Cotswold AONB as well. I didn't know that at the time. And a great comment on that video from Bev. I live about 10 miles away and I didn't know any of this even existed. They're my farmer's family are from the area. Thank you very much for that. And I find that comment quite delightful, because I'm always learning things by making these videos as well, by researching them and also sharing them with you. So I'm discovering new places and learning new things about them. There's 3 more videos for the month of June, not mentioned yet. One of them was simply called What Was This For? And it was looking at a particular village in Gloucestershire called Hartbury, which has an amazing secret. I won't mention what it is in case you haven't seen the video as yet. I had a great comment on that video from Michael Pilling, who lives in Poland. Hi Michael, it was great to read your comments. I've never been to Hartbury before. What a fascinating village. So much history to see in such a small place. The church, the chapel, the mill and the were incredible. Thanks very much for that, Michael. We also had another video looking at Cotswold Walks. It was Cotswold Walks number 21, which was the second video I've done looking at how you can get around the Cotswolds without a car. This time I went to the Oxfordshire town of Charlbury on the North Cotswold line and walked to the well-known town of Chipping Norton. I don't think I'm giving too much away by saying that in case you haven't seen the video, but I'll keep you guessing in the video. It's a great town, Chipping Norton. Well, both of them. I've been to Charlbury before on the channel, but never Chipping Norton. It's a very, very vibrant town, should I say. And I'm sure we'll be back there again at some point. We also passed through a couple of really fascinating Cotswold villages en route. Great comment on that from Clement Pauls, who lives in Canada. You seem to be a lonely traveller each time you take a train. It's not the first time this has happened. Is British Rail a profitable company? Slightly humorously. He put that in brackets. That was not me saying that. Thank you very much for that, Clement. Yes, well, the train that I filmed on was one that goes from Swindon to Worcestershire Hill and then down back to Paddington via Oxford. When it leaves Cheltenham Spa, pretty much everybody gets off, I think, because there was a train about 5 minutes earlier. So virtually no one needs to travel between Cheltenham and Worcester at that time, because, well, there's been other services in the area that they haven't carried through, and as I say, it's come from Swindon, not from London. So that's why it tends to be quiet, which means that you can actually film on it to get the shots, because I don't like including other passengers in the clips if I can at all help it. But often when I'm travelling on the train, no, they're not quiet at all. often the trains are very, very busy, particularly the cross-country services. They're extremely busy, I think, because sometimes they offer cheaper deals as you go up between the southwest, the Midlands, and the northeast and northwest, and the south coast. But yeah, so they're north. As in terms of British Rail, well, obviously Clement lives in Canada, so you're probably not aware that we were privatised in the 1990s, and it's all divided up now. So and a lot of it's owned still, well, I think it all is still controlled by the government, isn't it? But they are owned by private foreign companies as well, so it's all a bit of a complicated I won't go there with the politics, but you know what I mean. So yeah, it's not always quiet, but I still prefer to travel by train, if at all possible, rather than car, which I can find rather challenging and stressful these days. Finally this month, it was a return to the Dean Forest Railway in the Forest of Dean in the western half of Gloucestershire, Dean Forest Railway number 7. So it was an absolute pleasure to go there. Like I've done a couple of times before. I started the video in Bathurst Park in the town of Lydney. It's a wonderful park. If you haven't been, you go and have a look at the Dean Forest Railway. Well worth an explore. As indeed is the gardens here in Bewdley as well, which is on another railway, the Severn Valley Railway, which we will come back to again. I'm not going to say too much about that because I've got a little secret up my sleeve, so click subscribe and the bell, then YouTube will tell you when that comes up. I digress. Back to the Dean Forest Railway. A wonderful comment from Marilyn. Thank you very much, Marilyn. Always great to hear your comments. And she writes, so pleased to see smartly turned out carriages. I always noticed them as my husband was a carriage fanatic and would have been delighted to see them. Some people have been working very hard on those. You're absolutely right, Marilyn. They looked absolutely magnificent and sparklingly clean, as indeed the standards are always so high on the Dean Forest Railway. Absolute credit to all the volunteers that work on the DFR and indeed the other railways that I cover on my channel, like the SVR and the GWSR and the WSR and the other ones we haven't covered yet, more of which in a bit. All the best for now. Hope to see you on the channel soon. Take care. Cheers. Bye bye.